Welcome to episode 211 of Spy Curious. Here we go. There it is, episode 200. Before we get to Casey's introduction, stick around until the end of the program. Answer this question correctly. Be the first person to answer the question correctly. You'll win this secret covert spy 1080p pen camera, free. I bought it with my credit card. If you do something wrong with it, it's going to come back on me with the barcode, and they'll be able to match whatever perversion you use it for right to me. So what a great opportunity. Stick around to the end of the program. When we close today, I'm going to give you the opportunity to win this free. All right. Welcome along, Casey Pine. How are you?
Thank you. I'm wonderful. Had a busy week, and can I win the pen?
Very good. How's business?
Yeah, good. Ticking along, most certainly. I had some interesting cases this week, which a specific one that I'll talk about, which is always great. So I like being able to have a use case scenario to bring along to Spy Curious.
Very good.
So Facebook user.
G'day, Facebook user. I know who you are. G'day, Zohar. How are you, mate? Did you get your qualification in this week, buddy? I hope you did. It should be there now. G'day, Cole. Great to see you, mate. Thanks for checking in. Thanks, everyone, for checking in. We've had a very busy afternoon with what's been going on. Colin's had a very busy afternoon too. So today we've had Investigations Uni prior to this, and at Investigations Uni we talked about pretext approaches today and door knocking an area, a couple of very interesting programs, and we had a couple of government investigation programs as well. G'day, Chantel. Great to see you. Thanks for checking in and saying g'day. Hope you have a great weekend. All right, so Casey's going to be entertaining us with some really good information today on some of your bigger, more information investigations. So I'm really looking forward to that. The big news this week has been that the legislation relating to surveillance devices and listening devices and tracking devices and all sorts of things is going to be changed in Queensland, and that's coming up. It hasn't been touched since 1971, and technology has run away with it. The private investigators in Queensland have been having standard operating procedures for the last 4 years. And what's happened is the Office of Fair Trading have come out and said, well, because of the activities of 2 investigation agencies who use coercive control against women and probably another 18 investigators, so limited to 20 investigators out of the 904 in Queensland, everybody's going to have extra paperwork, extra compliance because of the activities of those people. Now, we're not interested in that as genuine licensed private investigators. We want the Office of Fair Trading to actually enforce what they do. There's only 20 people, investigators in Queensland, that have done the wrong thing. Or the other 884 are now going to be carrying around a stack of paperwork and inconvenience as a result of the Office of Fair Trading's failure to enforce the Security Act in Queensland. They haven't been interested in it now for some 15 years. So we really want them to come out and enforce. South Australia, they enforce it. In Victoria, the Licensing Regulation Division down there enforce it. New South Wales, SLED enforce it. The Western Australian Police enforce it. Tasmanian Consumer Affairs and Services, they enforce their act just like they do in Victoria. And we want you, the OFT, to regulate the problem and why punish the 804 innocent ones in this case. It's a real newsflash to the Office of Fair Trading, but compliance is beneficial. The Victorian Police, not that SLED, whoops, go to Victorian Police, they enforce their act and they make me do 25 hours of live training in CPP 30607 Certificate 3 in Investigative Services, which has to be up to date and in relation to subjects, and I have to have qualified teachers to deliver it. And they screw me on it. And I tell you what, the industry, the employers and the students have benefited from the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division being hard and enforcing. And they do it on a shoestring with not enough staff, just like SLED do, right? And they actually do it. But in Queensland, oh no, we're going to punish everybody by not enforcing and then lumping 20 investigators who do the wrong thing in with the other 804, like Casey, who is a Queensland licensed private investigator, who do the right thing. Now, the closing date for submissions on this matter in relation to what they're doing is next Monday, the 21st. So you can still write in with your submission and say, look, I object to, just because 2 places did the wrong thing, right? And then another 18 investigators have been doing the right thing. I don't, and I don't want to be punished and made to do all their extra paperwork and all their extra compliance when you're not even enforcing it. You haven't charged the people with the coercive control who actually went out and did that. It's a completely toothless regulatory authority at the Office of Fair Trading in Queensland, and they're going about it the wrong way. They're taking advice from the AIPI in Queensland, and the 2 people on the committee there are ex-cops. They're not experienced licensed private investigators working in the civil investigation industry. They're not. So no one's asked the other 804 investigators. Everybody's just jumped on and said, okay, because of the actions of 20, we're going to punish everybody and not even regulate the problem, not even look at it. There's 884 are no problem. It's only 20 that are a problem. Okay, we want the Office of Fair Trading to do something about that. That's where we're at. So we've got some jobs this week, people. There's some real beauties this week. This is a good one. Down in Victoria, Steve from OIS Global is looking for factual investigators in the city. Thanks, Bobby. Good on you, mate. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate your comment. So OIS Global, Steve down in Melbourne's looking for investigators in regional areas as well as in the city. So factual investigators to do workers' comp and a whole lot of other investigations down there at OIS Global. Senior fraud claims investigator is required at Auto and General. Now, this is great because you go into Auto and General, you're going to be studying at the Australian Security Academy. So congratulations. If you get that job, I'll see you very soon on Fridays at 12 o'clock. Looking forward to it. Whoops, that's Casey's. Casey, stop putting stuff in my area. And SureFact, I've got SureFact here somewhere. I'm sure I had SureFact. I don't know what I've done with them. But SureFact are looking for investigators in Queensland. Sorry, Victoria and New South Wales. So get in touch with Pat down at SureFact, and great opportunities there at SureFact as a licensed private investigator. Now, all these jobs that I've shown you today, except for Auto and General, which is a corporate internal job, you'll need a Certificate 3 in Investigative Services and a licensed private investigator's license to be with SureFact, OIS Global and similar. So that's a really important consideration. But like I say, Office of Fair Trading Queensland, Victoria Police LRD enforce, so do New South Wales SLED. They've got less human resources and less funding than you have. So really think about what you're going to be doing when you're pissing off 804 compliant investigators who did nothing wrong, and you did nothing about the 20 that did. That's a terrible situation for an industry, and it's a woeful situation, pitiful situation for a regulator. So that's what's coming up. Put in your submission next week. We're watching episode 211. Don't forget, people, before we close today, you'll get an opportunity to win that if you're the first person to answer the question correctly at the end of the program. Handing over to Casey.
Okay. Well, today I thought I would talk about AI and how it can help you as a desktop investigator or an open source intelligence investigator, or just even any type of investigator. These are some handy tips. So There's a great article that OSINT Combine have put out, and it goes into a lot of detail. I highly recommend you check that out. OSINT Combine are fantastic. I've done not all their training because they have a lot, but I've done a bit of their training, and they're brilliant at open source intelligence. So whenever Chris Poulter puts out something, I jump on it and I check it out. But here is one of the tips that I thought that I could share on Spy Curious today from that article. If you can't find it, just email me, casey@australiansecurityacademy.edu.au, and I can send you the link. So this is a news article, and there was a lot of these. So this is Shane Baker, who was murdered down in Tasmania. And often when we're doing desktop investigations or OSINT or any type of investigations, we start out with a Google search, and often there are news articles that come up. And they're long-winded, and you're sitting there taking notes, and you're trying to get names, and you're trying to figure things out. And a way to help you with that is to use ChatGPT. So I took this news article, I just copied it and pasted it into ChatGPT, and I said, can you extract names, locations, and organizations into a table with a short description of each from this body of text? So you have to actually cut and paste the article into ChatGPT. You can't just give it a link. It can't go and look at a link. You have to copy and paste. So, and the prompts, as you learn about artificial intelligence and the ChatGPTs of the world, you have to get really good at your prompts. So there was a different prompt that I used to use to extract this information. And in this OSINT Combine workflow with ChatGPT, they gave me that exact prompt, which is so incredibly handy because look at what came out. So ChatGPT, within a matter of seconds, pulled out the names, gave me locations and a short description of the person. So when you're going through these things and you're trying to get names and you're trying to write descriptions and you're doing all this, sometimes we miss things. Sometimes it's quite laborious. And this is just a really fantastic way to pull out a bunch of names and descriptions, locations, and it's all there. And we can make notes on top of that. So it's just a fantastic way to reduce your workload there. So remember, I just asked, extract names, locations, and organizations into a table with a short description of each from this body of text. So as you know, this goes to our YouTube, so you can just pause this, and also it's in that article, which hopefully you can find. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked that one. So once AI has summarized that, yeah, you can make notes on top of it, and it's got all the key information. I just think it's fantastic. I use it all the time, and I use it in a lot of, often people that I'm investigating do blogs, they write long-winded posts about things, and when you're doing sentiment analysis, you can use it for that as well, which I'll get into shortly as well. Laborious. Yes, well, good. I'm glad you're learning something, Matt. Okay, what else did I do here? And you can also just ask it little questions. So like, how did Shane die from that article? And it'll answer you. So according to the provided articles, he was shot to death. So just like if you miss something, if you want to know a piece of information, just use prompts and play with it. It's a fantastic and powerful tool. So I highly recommend that you learn about AI because it is something that is becoming more and more prevalent, and it is going to take jobs, and people are going to be left behind if you don't learn how to use these things. Okay, what else do I have? I did a case this week where there was a car crash and there wasn't any witnesses that they knew of. But of course, there are so many Facebook community groups at the moment where people post stuff all the time. Now, I haven't used my exact case in my example. I've just pulled something from my local community group. But someone had posted in a community group about the crash, And a number of other people said, oh, I saw that. And it's just a fantastic way to find witnesses to anything, like a brawl in a shopping center, a crash or a hit and run, anything like that. Go and check local Facebook group pages, because you might find something there. And that's what I did. And I messaged with my sock puppet account on the Facebook. I messaged everyone that said, oh, I saw this. And I messaged the person that had put the photo up and said, hi, this is who I am. This is what I do. Can I speak to you? Can you explain to me what happened? Can I organize a time to speak to you about this? And everyone got back to me, which really surprised me. It was fantastic. It was just such a good way. And it was just, that doesn't always happen. And it's really stuck in my mind because I had such success with it. Sometimes you'll go to the community groups and there's nothing. Sometimes you'll message someone that puts something up and they want nothing to do with you. But that's where you just pivot and, you just keep going. So I have got this as an example. So someone put up, an anonymous member in my local community group, this ute owner went the wrong way around a roundabout and this person's calling him out. So another fantastic way, because this is also what I did when someone took a picture of that car crash, I couldn't tell what kind of car it is. Just with this, like this ute, I'm not across utes. I generally tend to know my cars, but this one I did not. And another form of AI that we can use to help leverage our skills and understand things is carnet.ai. So I uploaded the image into carnet.ai and it says that it's a Mazda BT50. The generation, it gives you 2011 to 2015 with a 66% probability. And then you can just Google that car just to make sure that that's what it is. And yeah, it's that. It's fantastic. So carnet.ai, amazing tool. Upload it, tells you what kind of car it is. That way it can really help you. And also I took what this Facebook person said, I just copied and pasted what they said, that little bit there, into ChatGPT and asked it to analyze the sentiment. And ChatGPT is very, very good at analyzing sentiment and explaining why. And I understand that we know that that person was pissed off, right? And we know the sentiment of that post. But sometimes we don't know the sentiment. I had to do a background check recently on someone, and I took one of their long-winded, ranting, raving posts that I didn't understand from Facebook, pasted it into ChatGPT, and I said, can you analyze the sentiment? And it analyzed the sentiment, but it also said, well, it's actually, it was a Bible verse that they had copied, pasted, and posted on their Facebook. And I didn't know that. So not only did it analyze the sentiment, it told me the point of the Bible verse, and it just gave me all that extra information that I did not know or understand. So leveraging ChatGPT there is also very, very handy. And especially like if English isn't your first language, I know we have a number of fantastic investigators among us that English isn't their first language, and sentiment sometimes can be lost on some people. Use ChatGPT, just plug it in and see what it has to say. Just analyze the sentiment and it'll give, I'll show you again, give you a fantastic answer and break it down for you, which is very, very handy. Obviously, it's not always 100% correct. You have to use your own mind, your own investigative skills there. But yeah, analyzing sentiment is really, really good. So I highly recommend you get ChatGPT. Don't pay for it. Just go into your browser on your computer, get the free version. That's all I use. It's plenty. And just play around with it. And just you can Google ChatGPT prompts to get the most out of it. And like I said, this article from OSINT Combine is jam-packed with OSINT tips and risks and benefits of using ChatGPT. So I highly encourage you to check out the full article on OSINT Combine. So those are my little tips for today. Oh, you're on mute, Mike. Here we go.
As we say in the investigation live streaming industry, I've never met a mic I didn't like, except for the ones that won't turn on when they're muted. So great tips, Casey. Well done. Thank you very much. So it's a matter of playing with it, become a beginner and then become intermediate, and then 3 months down the track, mastery.
3 months. It's an evolving technology as well. So it's something that I really believe that people need to be across. It's coming, it's here. People are utilizing it. Be someone that understands it even just a little bit, and you're ahead of the game. So, and that's part of being an investigator, is just constantly updating your skills, trying to hone your craft. Like, we have a very specific skill set that we should take pride in, and that's why we do Spy Curious and all Mike's investigations uni, because we love our craft. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. We've been told it's awesome information. So
Thanks,
very
David.
good. And laborious is word of the week for Matt. So he's really achieved something this week, Case. Well done. Helped Matty out with his vocabulary. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. He'll be barracking at the footy this week and saying, "Oh, umpire, you're laborious," which his neighbours are going to be all confused about. So that's great. I really enjoyed it. Look, I can remember, and this just shows you how old I am, when private investigators were averse to adopting the use of laptop computers. That must have been 19 years ago. So still within living memory. So we adopt and move forward with these things, and that's really great. So last week, I said there was an investigator who did the wrong thing in an investigation class and acted inappropriately with his actions. And some people wrote into me and said, well, you're going to get all those people from that code of conduct area. G'day, Chris. How you going, mate? You're going to get all those people in the government investigation area, the Toowoomba City Council in charge of their code of conduct. They're going to get sacked. And yeah, they are. They will, because of what they did and what they covered up. And that's not exactly a bad thing. They will move on. They'll go somewhere else. They'll use the qualifications they got from there, and they will move on somewhere else. That's what happened. A few years back, one of the most popular people in a corporate investigation agency, she omitted to do one thing in the biggest case they had in years, and that was give a person a warning during a recorded interview. Now, her boss contacted me and said, during that training, did you talk about warnings? And I went back, looked through our records and said, yep, this is when we did warnings. Pat Flynn taught that class. That person was present, blah, blah, blah. And the boss said to me, well, this is the downside of being the manager, and then had to go and sack that person. It's the most popular person ever worked there. Really popular, lovely person. And lost her job. She then went and got another job in a better place for more money. She then went and got another job in another place for money. She forgot to do one thing once in one investigation, which was miss out on a warning to a person she was tired or whatever, okay? Lost a job over it. They do. They lose their job. They move on. Things get better. They should never have defended their ex-police mate at the Toowoomba City Council. They wouldn't have lost their job. Right? That would not have happened. So keep that in mind. Don't be worried about people losing their job over these things. That goes with the course of when they decided that the person said, I'm an ex-cop, you're an ex-cop, be loyal to me. When they pick up that loyalty card in that situation, that means their professional integrity is worth less than their loyalty to their ex-cop friend. And you can't have that. The whole system stagnates when that happens. It's toxic. Let's have a look at it. I'll run through it last week again. Last week, we told you about a private investigator who was teaching a class of compliance enforcement inspectors at the Toowoomba City Council. And what he did, that licensed private investigator, was in the class, he made the students in the class get on the floor and do an exercise. Now, these are compliance enforcement inspectors working for local government, and they complied because they've got to pass the course. I told you last week, it's a power imbalance when this sort of thing happens. So they got on the floor and started doing that exercise, and then he went round behind them and using some kind of image capture device, started taking photos of the ladies from behind without their consent or their knowledge. Now, this is a licensed private investigator using an image capture device to do that to people who don't know it's happening. Now, the private investigation industry in Queensland does not support the 20 or less private investigators that go around taking images of people on behalf of clients or themselves and posting them on the internet. So what this guy did, he posted these images on social networking. Once it goes up on social networking, those images are there forever. So you can't take them down. They're there for ever and a day, and your great-grandchildren will look at images you posted. So the issue here with that coercive control is the power imbalance of complaining about what he was doing, getting your qualification and passing the course with the full knowledge of the oversight committee of the council. Now, people say to me, oh my God, geez, you shouldn't be doing that because everybody in the council who's in charge of internal investigations and that sort of code of conduct, they'll lose their job. Yeah, well, they do, okay? But it's not the end of the world. They go on and they get jobs in other government departments, and you see it happening all the time. So they learn from their experience not to cover for other people who have gone and taken images of people in class without their knowledge or consent, right? They go and work somewhere else. They might end up working in a council somewhere else or working for a government department, state government, whatsoever. But the industry in Queensland and Australia in general in private investigations does not support that type of behaviour. And we're looking for the Queensland Law Reform Commission to actually stop us drowning in paperwork. We don't do marital and relationship surveillance. So why should we have extra layers of stuff lumped on us when the Women's Safety Council have only got 2 complaints about private investigators doing coercive control? Okay, that's all they've got. We want the Office of Fair Trading to enforce the Security Providers Act in Queensland and stop blaming everybody else for what a few are doing, like that guy did on behalf of Peak Services as their trainer, took those images and posted them without the students' consent on social networking. So we do not want extra layers of compliance put on us, the people that do the right thing, all 804 licensed private investigators in Queensland, when it was only 1 or 2 licensed investigators using this coercive control to get what they wanted for their clients in Queensland. Smarten up, OFT. It's time to lift your game. We only just spoke about this afternoon in one of our investigations unit programs, and that was where Brett Sutcliffe from the investigation agency that he owns in Sydney impersonated an Australian Federal Police officer. Now, New South Wales SLED arrested him and charged him, and he lost his licence over it. You got 2 people in Queensland that exercise coercive control over ladies and frightened them. They are private investigators who are licensed. They should lose their licence and lose their ability to operate in Queensland, just like Brett Sutcliffe did for Spouse Busters in New South Wales. We're after enforcement because that's what we expect and that's what the community expects. They don't expect ladies to be coercively controlled by a few people willing to do that because they're paid to do it. 804 don't. 2 did. and 20 may. So that's the situation that we've got. Want to win this? Get ready. First person in the chat to tell me what episode of Spy Curious this is today. We'll be holding this by this time next week. What episode in the chat? What is it? First person to answer correctly. Casey, you're not in this. First person to answer correctly. We got an answer.
You do.
David's our winner. Well done, David. You're going to have to privately message me your. You missed it by a second, Chantel. Bad luck, Deegan. Oh, Colin. Yes. Bad luck, guys. David was fast. He's got faster internet. That's unfair. He might live around the road from us. That's really unfair. Anyway, David is now the proud owner of this covert camera. Thanks for entering, everyone. So David's going to have to PM me his postal address so I can express post that out to him. If you're anywhere near JCar, this is going to disappoint David dramatically, but there's $20 off these this week. They're going out of them. So jump online tonight and buy 3 of them. Very handy, okay, for your private investigation activities, especially during door knocks and stuff like that. So this week, people, we have covered job vacancies. We have covered Chat GPT and how handy and the evolving technology there is for it. I cannot overemphasize, if you are not participating in Investigations Uni, people, you are missing out. All right, so Investigations Uni is running every Friday. It went for 2 hours across 4 episodes today. We had some great presentations on evidence collection, notes on pretext inquiries for surveillance operatives, and door knocking, not covert, but overt door knocks for private investigators. It's been fantastic learning, and it was brought by an idea of enforcement by, you ready for this? The Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division enforcing us to do it live every Friday for 25 hours. Well, now we've got something like 100 hours of it. We're 4 times over that limit, and we're adding to it every week because of the foresight of the underfunded, under-resourced Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division, who regulate PI licensing in Victoria and want to promote standards for investigators. They do not tolerate sexual assault and private investigators in Victoria. They would not tolerate for 1 second coercive control, and they don't do that in New South Wales, in Victoria, or in Tasmania either, and they will never not regulate the problem and punish everybody doing the right thing. A really credit to the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division for their foresight in the improvement of standards for students, employers, and the investigation industry. Casey, we covered everything?
I believe so.
I believe so. So I guess we're going to be back next week. You're going to join us again next week?
Yeah.
Look forward to having that. It was a really good one. Really enjoyed that today. It wasn't laborious. It was not laborious at all.
I heard that.
Was it? Yes, that's the big 4: Spy Curious, AirLab, Australian Security Academy and Investigations Uni, improving the learning standards across government investigation, loss adjusting, mercantile agent and private investigation courses throughout Australia. And we're going out in our usual way.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
That's how Casey closes down her investigation agency every Friday. And she says, all units return to base, mission complete, don't you, Casey?
Yes, I would love if it ended on a Friday.
You've got a busy weekend coming up. I'll see you tomorrow morning, Case. No,
Yep.
I won't. I'll see you Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah.
Sunday. Okay, no worries. See you then. See you next week. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Bye, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Well done, Dave.